we're on it is that you don't train a doctor doesn't train for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and then get to start operating. But with police, they don't. They go through all sensible training, but they don't go through enough to really prevent.
Well, I realize that, but you also have to realize too that if the police go through 4 years of undergraduate cop, and then 4 years of graduate cop, and then 2 years of cop internship, what are we going to have to pay that cop? I mean, what's he going to be? $250,000 a year?
Yeah, and well, gosh, you just made a lot of things come to light with that one, especially on the aspect of the job market and the cost of education and why that's brutal. But that's not what's being asked for. It's what's more or less on the base level being asked for is that there is just changes.
About, I mean, like, what kind of training would be indicative there? Because
soldiers get less.
You're talking about a job that everybody you encounter is something completely new.
Yeah,
like, soldiers get less training.
Huh?
Soldiers get less training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're talking about training people to fit a mold. What's that mold? Because everybody you encounter is completely different. And I tell you, the really bad thing in this is, and we've talked about body cams on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
I do, there's pros and cons, but there's a lot of things now, especially and I'm not saying I agree with any of the big cases about police brutality, because if those officers got convicted, then they were in the wrong. But officers are so scared to handle business now that, people are getting away with stuff. I mean, like, there's a lot of, we had a guy, Titty and I were talking about this on the phone the other day. We had a guy in Tulsa that was high on PCP, and they literally tased him enough until he died, and it's, you talk to old school cops, and old school cops will say, hey, back in the day, we'd have laid hands on this guy. We'd have fought, and he may have got hurt a little bit, but we'd have drug him to jail, and everything would be cool. I mean, the guy wouldn't be dead. You just got officers that are really afraid to do things that they need to do in their job, and I think that's a very dangerous environment to create.
Yeah.
We got police officers that are scared to act.
Well,
I mean, look what's happened in all these cities. They're scared to act, and they're burning them to the ground.
Donnie's right. And I mean, a lot of it is continuing education, but you can't. There's going to be bad apples. There are bad black people. There are bad white people. There are bad cops. There are bad firemen.
Right.
Can you imagine firemen setting stuff ablaze just because?
Sure.
They do.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is that, it's not necessarily like I'm not. People aren't asking like, "Hey, go. You have to get an MD in copping or whatever." But what they are asking for is reform and building in and creating preventative measures for cops to better deal with these hyper stressful situations and how to de-escalate it, and how not to just move for your gun to begin with, and that's the issue.
Well, there was a deputy sheriff that's been plastered all over TV, and I can't remember his name to save my life. I've seen it several times, where he come upon a group of protesters, and all he was wanting is just keep things civil, and thought how we're going about this is completely wrong. And he takes off his gun belt and he takes off his vest because he knows that cop was wrong, and started marching with those people. That's how you make change. You put the cops back in the community, and you put the cops there to be the good guys. In other words, they walk a beat and they check on you and they know your neighbors, and I think cop work has gotten so watered down because everybody travels around in a cruiser, and they don't come out of the cruiser unless something's wrong, or they need donuts. When old cops used to walk a beat,
they have the community policing program in Tulsa.
Yeah,
they used to you hear they announce it on the news or something. They'd show up at a McDonald's and they'd sit down and have coffee with everybody who came in and wanted to have coffee with you. I mean, they do some stuff that they try to get in the community. I think the days of walking beats is, I mean, just because of our infrastructure, those days are probably gone. Well, I say
mailmen still walk.
I say
Barely.
that they did put that squad of officers downtown there that walk around, that patrol all that on foot. So I don't know. Maybe they'll test it out and do it in more places. I don't know. Who am I to say?
Tulsa's been pretty,
Progressive?
progressive in their structure, just because. Oh, there was a report that came out last year called the Equality Indicator Report, and it just showed. It basically measured like proximity to food, proximity to school. Like,
oh yeah, I remember hearing about
did that rating system, and you what did you find? The majority of these, these low income communities had none of these things met, and they were out of access of the things that are crucial for most places to, and so there's been. In Tulsa, it's kind of cool. They progressive and is to try to mandate and deal with this issue from the get go. You've seen a lot less.
Well, I think just like in the past 2 or 3 nights they've had issues, demonstrations and stuff, and I think the way that they've been handled has been pretty great. I mean, that shows how Tulsa is sitting with the community as a whole, because I make jokes about it all the time. Like not the demonstrators, but our rioters, they're not that committed, because like in other cities, they're shooting them with rubber bullets. They're throwing gas at them. They're still burning stuff to the ground. In Tulsa, they throw some gas at them and they just run off and go home. Like, I mean, okay, you guys ain't really making a stand here, but whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've handled it the way they have, and they haven't had more problems than they have. I mean, I think that says a lot about TPD's probably got a very much improved relationship with the community compared to what it was 20, 25 years ago.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, come on, let's go break this window. Okay, let's go, Todd. Let's go break this window. Here comes a cop with a little bit of tear gas coming our way. That shit hurts, you dick!
That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah. And with a lot of these protests, you're starting to see protesters protesting the protest. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that are keeping people keeping protesters in check that are in the protest that are saying, "I don't think so, buddy."
Because today I procrastinated about protesting the protesters who were procrastinating about that other protest, but I'm not 100% sure.
Donnie says that, though. Have you seen the video of the Antifa dude that's trying to bust the concrete up to throw, and they snatch him up and they drag him to a cop who arrests him?
Drug him to the cop.
Yeah. The demonstrators like, you ain't doing this here. And they, like, 2 or 3 of them snatch him up and drag him to a police officer.
You a damn fool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just.
And I saw a video today in Long Beach, California. The Crips were walking around running off the Antifa members. I'm like, we got thugs policing thugs, man. Like, this ain't no joke anymore.
No, it's not.
As Joe Rogan says, this movie just keeps getting fucking weirder. I mean.
Oh man, it is really. I would just bizarre. Yeah, should we take a walk down memory lane?
Absolutely.
What we just experienced for the past 4 months.
Well, and you would think that
lockdown.
Exactly.
Lockdown. Protests. It's weird. I mean, just a turn of the dial, but I'm like, that is just crazy. I mean, we've already been in practicing social distancing, lockdowning for a while.
Yeah, but when you lock the entire nation down for that long, this was a powder keg waiting to.
Yeah, they were waiting to go off the chain.
It just
this whole year, man. My brother called me the other day. My brother's like, "Check this out, dude! In January, Australia was on fire. Like, all of Australia was on fire." He was like, "In February, we almost started World War III." He goes, "In March, this happened." He goes, like, "Then we had the lockdown." He goes, and now I just read. He goes, "I just saw an article where some monkeys stole the coronavirus from a lab worker in India. June, enter the ring." I'm like, I know, dude. It's like the months are battling out for what crazy shit we can put up with.
You know, and kind of funny that you mention this. I was what the hell was I doing?
What were you doing?
I don't know. We'll have to go on to something else. I lost it. I was there and I lost it.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the coronavirus and all the stuff that's been happening since.
I'm telling you right now, man, you haven't heard a whole lot about that pandemic since this whole thing broke out.
Yeah, I still got nothing.
No,
Yeah.
we're not helping anyway. Yeah,
No, it's gone. It was cool too. Funny. I remember it's funny. I was like, oh, this is going to be funny.
I'm gonna kill with this one.
Then I open up my phone to look it up, but I forget what it is, and now I'm just stuck being big titty with Mad Cow again. Thank you.
Okay, well, try to bring that to the forefront of your mind. Let's take a pee break.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're back from the potty break. Kind of wanted to go into some of the globalization of this. When I say globalization, I realize this is a problem that we have here in the States, but everybody's hearing about it all over the place. Look at New York and how that you want to talk about pillaging a village.
Yeah.
Good God. You know, and
For real.
you were saying that they were actually going residential door to door.
Yeah, they when they hit Manhattan, besides tearing all the big retailers up, there's a Fox News has got a show on in the afternoons called The Five, and one of the reporters on there, he's one of the panel members. His name's Greg Gutfield. He had a apartment or condo or something in Manhattan, and he said that on, I think, yesterday's show, they went through there and destroyed. So not only were they hitting these big retailers, they were hitting people that lived there as well. And I don't know why he wasn't there when it happened. What they were saying. Well,
you know, in with Antifa, you know, anti-fascism, Antifa. I think calling Republicans fascists is quite a bit of a stretch.
Well, Antifa's reached a point that they're just anarchists at this point. They just want to destroy the government. And I've never even heard what their agenda is after that, other than destroying the government.
Well, but fascism stands for it's a centralized autocratic government. We don't have an autocratic government.
We kind of have a.
Do say, Donnie.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting there. So, you know, what fascism, the idea of fascism. My favorite, you know, Woody Guthrie and his old guitar, This Machine Kills Fascists. He, you know, that idea of being against inequality.
But when he did this, that wasn't Democrat and Republican. That was government.
That was government, and I think that that I'm not by any means touting the idea of, you know, Antifa by any means or nothing. But what I am saying is that, you know, the idea is to, you know, call out those injustices, the inequalities of social, economic, political power that has been maneuvered away from the people and into the power of, a government that, you know, exploits agendaism. That's not a word, but
well, history has shown that Republicans desire less government and more control by the people.
Right.
And
with this, it's more on the basis of, conceptualizing something. What I imagine would be something more along the lines of a social. You know, I don't know. I can't claim.
There
that
we
who
go.
Are,
Magic word has come out.
I can't claim people who are doing it or who are seeking to be active in it that is their, you know, political association. But what I do think is that, you know, the idea of that and notion, the idea of what that could, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't think inciting terror, you know, over, you know, I'm trying to watch my words here. I don't think that that's a viable way.
Okay, well, let me
start rioting and stuff. But
let me say this: so your fascists are linked more to socialism, communism. Seen some of them wear swastikas. Have you?
Who?
Antifa.
No, I've never seen a member of Antifa.
With the.
I've never seen a member of Antifa. I don't know what they look like. That's the thing. Is I don't.
They wear black with a red band on the arm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Having said that,
They got their own costumes.
and busting down what they're saying as far as autocratic government headed by a dictatorial